Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am very excited because I have, over the past 2 weeks, been doing an art project, and it's actually going to be, I hope, a surprise for someone who is not expecting it. I know someone who has a pantry, a little neighborhood pantry library. We have a little library in our neighborhood, one of those stands with books, but this person has a neighborhood that they maintain an actual pantry and library of books within their what do you want to call it, within their development, within their community. And I'm very excited for what I have created because a lot of people have been donating. So aside from some journals, 10 journals that I am sending the person, plus a gift card to help fill up the pantry as a donation, also 72 pens to go with those journals, I have created 10 bookmarks, and I hope that you will follow, because as I did everything, I have been recording myself, and there are many products that I purchased for my art supplies that I've never worked with, and I worked with these working on the bookmarks. There are 10 bookmarks. Then I made affirmation cards with their origami sleeves. So there's 18 of these cards with an affirmation on the back and a sleeve that holds the affirmation card. The bookmarks have quotes from leaders, poets, writers, education, reading, and leadership. I also created a personalized gift card for the person, which I'll be writing in just a few minutes. I created an envelope, and this is the first time I ever made an envelope, decorated it for them. I like color. And for the affirmation cards, I made a box. This was my first time learning how to do jelly prints for the box and for the sleeves. So I hope you will grab some coffee or tea or whatever your beverage of choice is, and that you will come and join me in my adventure. I edited the video down from about 40 hours of work, 40, 50 hours of work between learning what the supplies did, what I was doing right, what I was doing wrong, and just the actual process of creating. So let's go ahead and jump in. Although I bought 2 new rolls of green frog tape, I already had an old roll of frog tape from, I don't know, about 20 years ago. And I decided, of course, to use that first and cut it down. And you see me measuring everything out here. I have to tell you, I have a big fear about measuring, which you will find out about later in the video. Okay, as you saw, I laid down the watercolor paper, which I had stretched, and I told you a little bit about that. What I had also done while watching TV and vegging out and not really paying attention to TV, took my Moleskin ugly sketchbook and jotted down some ideas of what I wanted to do for each of the bookmarks. Some of the bookmarks, as I had mentioned, will be on watercolor and some will be on cardstock, and we're starting with the watercolor. So these are just some quick study sketches, whatever, for each of the bookmarks I want to create. The idea for me is, yes, I could just throw out some bookmarks, throw some color on there, make it pretty and abstract, but I want each person who is reading their book or has a journal, because I'm sending journals to the person who has the pantry library, little library in their neighborhood. Whoever has a book or who has a journal and has one of these bookmarks, I don't want it to be just any bookmark. I want it to feel like they have a little piece of art, whether it's great art or not. It's just a little piece of art that's unique, and they are the only ones that have that specific bookmark. Nobody else has it. It's not mass produced, etc. So these are some of the quick sketches. This one's going to be watercolor paper, watercolor paper, watercolor paper. I'm thinking these will be on cardstock with gouache and or markers. I'm hoping gouache does okay on the cardstock. We'll find out. These two are going to be on cardstock. This is going to be watercolor. I was playing with my acrylics and completely forgot how much they do bleed through. So I know what this is here, but it's hidden, and this is going to be on watercolor. And if I have the time, I'm going to do some other bookmarks. I'm going to be doing 10 for the other person's library, little library, and 10 for mine. And what I discovered here with watercolor marks, and I made notes for myself, is I had used the Sharpie, just a regular Sharpie permanent writing marker pen, and it does not do well with the alcohol markers. Obviously, it kind of ran. Whereas when I used the Pigma pen, as you can see, the lines stayed really well, and I was able to use the alcohol markers. So I'm probably going to be making a few bookmarks like this because I think it's pretty. And they're all going to be very unique and different. So I don't want to reinvent the wheel. So this session is going to be simply quick tracing and transferring of the sketches. And I'm going to start that now and speed this up as I did with the watercolor. It's going to be highly sped up. Here we go. I do a lot of erasing, so keep my ideas in my ugly notebook until I can transfer to watercolor paper. All right. First time doing something like this, so we'll see. Oops. And this is the Saran tracing paper. How am I going to do this? I don't know how I'm going to do this. Obviously, this is just to get memory of what I did. I will compare the two as I create. Probably for simple designs, I could use a blue watercolor pencil and draw the designs directly onto the watercolor paper. Excellent. And thing with this, whoa, not too much. Okay, we can pick it up. Okay, that was my first time using that. We're going to call that one done as far as transfer. What I do like about this transfer method is that it does make it easier and quicker to get the design onto the actual watercolor paper, and I'm not destroying the watercolor paper by doing so much erasing. And it also is sort of muscle memory for me, and so when it came time to actually doing the painting or the coloring in or whatever I was doing at the moment, I had that muscle memory. So while I was redrawing this or tracing it, I was also thinking of colors and, oh, maybe I might, when I come to do this and paint it in, maybe I'll erase this part here. And you'll see I did erase one section and redid part of it. So it's another moment for me by tracing to think about the bookmark before I'm actually committing it to the drawing or to the painting and making it a permanent image. Okay, for the cardstock, I went ahead and taped it off camera because you already saw what I went through to be able to tape it down. And I'm still not going to reinvent the wheel, but this should be fast because most of these are simple. They're simple ideas to what I had sketched out. So let me go ahead and get that started. One thing I did find through this whole process of drawing and painting or marking on it, the cardstock, I really enjoyed it. I have a lot of cardstock and I'm going to keep using it. But I think I do have my mixed media Bristol board, and I'm going to try some of that and see and compare it to the cardstock and see which I prefer. Cardstock is just cheaper to do and easier for me to do for free for different communities. Okay, since it's late at night and I'm not experienced with watercolor or gouache or anything like that, I'm going to leave those bookmarks for tomorrow because I have practiced, as you saw, with my alcohol markers. So I'm going to work on inking in a couple of the bookmarks and maybe a third one and doing the coloring in. One thing I did do last week for a week is I put as I had mentioned in my swatching video, that I was going to do swatches and put half of them in the window and half of them in the drawer and see what it looked like for a week. And that gave me a pretty good idea. Let me show you here of what markers, not that anybody's going to have their bookmarks out in the sun 24/7, not that the sun's out 24/7, but you know what I mean. But still, some people might be reading their books and have the bookmark out in the sun at the beach or something like that. So there are a few colors that I'm definitely going to avoid. And I've made a notice for myself. If I decide to use these colors, what I'm going to end up doing is maybe putting gouache, similar gouache color over that, or maybe one of my acrylic Posca markers. But let me just show this to you quickly. The grays, all of those did really fine. The window I was testing in was a west window, direct west window, and I swear people have commented I have a pot holder on my door handle because it gets so hot. So that tells you how strong the sun is. The alcohol, the Ohuhu alcohol markers, the grays did really well. No problem. Some of these pinks I would still use if I knew that it's going to definitely stay inside. Like this pink, I think would be fine, and I might still use it with a alcohol pink over it. But the ones that I've circled in black, I'm going to avoid because look how much the color actually changed. And especially these three, if somebody were sitting out in the sun at the beach with the bookmark, for instance, I don't want it to change so drastically that they see. And I am going to still spray it with the UV spray and put something else over it that will help prevent it. But these are so drastic, the ones that I've marked in black and put on my notes, they're so drastic, I just don't want to take the chance. The other ones that I've marked in pencil lightly, I might be willing to take a chance since it's a bookmark. When we get into the oranges and everything, most of them did. This one, kind of not. That I may decide to kind of avoid that Y5 to get my pen. Now that under the bright light, that's enough to me of a change that it can make a difference. That yellow, I'm okay with. This pink down here, that's too drastic of a change. So, and let me mark it over here, Y5, so I don't forget. All right, and then also, and later on for the heck of it, I will probably do my own Lightfast tests on other supplies, just for my own education. I mean, you can read it, but visually seeing it makes a difference. So this G5, that's a big enough a difference that I'm probably not going to use it in a bookmark. And actually this BG1 here, I don't have that in black here. This BG1, I probably don't want to use that either. So I'm going to try and avoid using those markers specifically. This is specifically because, as I said, nobody's going to be having their bookmarks out in the sun for a full week. But since it is a bookmark and it's not something that's going to be residing in a home and could be outside at times, anything that's going to be outside, I want to be aware. So, other thing that I have is I redid these circles to a certain degree because I didn't like what I had done in the first setup of this, which, while I was waiting for that section of the video to edit or finish rendering, because I'm working and then taking a break by rendering some of the video. And that way, nothing seems to be too much. I get to break the tasks up and get to work longer. I have a little piece off to the side here so that I can test out some of the pens before I make a mark here. And that's why I'm not doing the watercolor or the gouache, because it's late at night and I haven't worked with those. So I'm going to have, when I do get to that, I'm going to have that off to the side, extra watercolor paper off to the side, and practice my strokes off to the side before I make anything on the bookmark. And of course, for time's sake, I'll edit the practices out of the video. But I really want to make sure that these videos are real and raw. I will edit some of the long stuff out, but real and raw. And so if you're a beginner like me in some areas with new products, with new ideas, with creating something new that you've never made before, the idea is I want you to experience, I hope that you experience the trials and tribulations of creating in whatever real time, because there's a lot of experts out there that can show you how to do something, but they've been doing it for so long, they're not showing you the struggles and the frustrations. So that's what I'm hoping that this does. There is something about my work from the late 1990s when I was dabbling in painting, in early 2000s before I stopped everything in 2008. There is something about curves and waves and circles. I'm more drawn to images and paintings that have curvatures or circles or something flowing to it than anything that is painted or drawn or along those lines that is very geometric. Very geometric in the sense that, well, circles obviously are geometric, that are very straight-lined, hard corners, etc. Not that I haven't done that myself, but I am going to flow more with curves and circles, and I'm just drawn to that a lot more. It's sort of the same as within architecture. I know it's all the rage, but this postmodern 1940s, 50s, 60s furniture, architecture, and even now the pure minimalism, straight lines. It's so stark and it's so barren and unemotional, I guess is the word for it. That is it. It's unemotional to me that I can't get into it. If someone said, you can either live in this very Baroque Victorian room, or you can choose to live in this room that has very stark lines, minimal furniture, everything is sharp, etc. Even though very Baroque and Victorian would be hard for me to keep up with, especially with my pain, even though that would be hard for me to keep up and maintain, I'm going to go for that rather than for the minimalist, modern looks of the room. I would just go crazy. I would feel like I was in a prison if I had to live in a very minimalistic room. It's sort of like I've told people before, if I had a choice to, and especially when I was in shape and didn't have the physical problems that I have now, if I was given a choice of, we're going to put you down in the middle of a forest, in the middle of a mountain, or we're going to put you down in the middle of a city, which would you prefer? Where would you prefer living? I am going to pick the mountain, the forest, the trees, all of that before I pick living in the middle of a city. I know cities are vibrant and alive and energetic, and people find that feeling when they live in a city. It's just very claustrophobic and unnerving for me in the middle of cities. Put me in the middle of a forest, especially by myself, and the wind and the listening to the trees and listening to the wildlife and just seeing all of that. I'm going to prefer that. It's the same as I don't prefer a desert, a complete desert. I prefer vibrant mountains, rivers, streams, and that type of thing before I would take a desert living. So that's me. Oh, and you may be wondering why I have everything sketched out here. When I was doing the cardstock bookmarks, I was doing it on a foam board to cover the watercolor paper, thinking I was protecting it, and I didn't realize there was old oil paint on the other side, and it stuck to two of the bookmarks. Yikes! Okay, I am excited and nervous because I am about to do watercolor, and except for the swatches, I've never done watercolor, I don't know what I'm doing, and of course I'm jumping right into this project without having practiced anything. So, yay for me. Okay, and I want to go over a couple things. As you know, as I said before, I have everything covered, so I don't make the same mistake as I made before, so if anything splatters or anything goes awry, it'll only happen on this section. Hopefully nothing will happen to everything else that I have sketched out. I found online at Walmart this tray, just a regular serving tray, and it's a little bit larger than what the median that was on Blick website, and it was cheaper. This is, I think, 10 by 9, so this is going to work perfectly, I believe. The other thing, too, is it works perfectly with my Kuretake pans, and what I've done is I just put a little bit of the rubber eraser underneath it, and it sticks fine. What was really beneficial is my swatch notebook, especially since I'm new to all of this. All I did was I went to my Kuretake, and I decided the limited palette that I wanted to do. I wanted to do a light and a dark. For what I'm going to do with this, I wanted a light and a dark of 3 different colors. So I was able to look at this and decide which colors I wanted to pull out. And that way, I won't be tempted or confused by the rest of the watercolor swatches. I have this practice sheet here so that I can practice a couple strokes and figure out which brush size I want to use and how much water, etc. I'll edit that part out. You'll only see what I'm actually putting down on the palette, but I want you to know I'm practicing over here. And these are the brushes I'm using, the 𝗦𝗧𝗧𝗦𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧𝗧 let's see, with the rounds 863, and I have a 3/4 inch flat for large brush washes, but I won't be using that for this, I believe. And then I also have a Royal Soft Grip. I'm forgetting the brand of this, and this is, by what it says here, it's a 10/0, so a very fine point, as you can see. So I am going to spray this down with water. For my gouache, I did make that, which I'll be doing later, but just so you know, so I don't get it confused, I have two different colors. This matches the gouache palette, so I know it's for gouache, and this is the antifungal, which I talked about and got the recipe from the Frugal Crafter, and it's an antifungal. It's 10 parts water, 1 part rubbing alcohol, and 1 part glycerin, and that's to use only with the gouache. This is just plain water. I'm going to spray down my Kuretake's, and we're going to get started. Wish me luck. Now, as doing this as my first watercolor, I was pretty happy with it, but I did find with the greens and using greens in some of the others, I'm not sure if it's the paint per se or if it's just me. It probably is just me. I had more difficulty in getting the shading. I did catch on to the fact that I have to pay attention to how much water I'm using and the drying time of the watercolor and how the watercolor pools and can cause lines. And so that's something, as I worked on the various bookmarks, that I tried to keep in mind. And you'll find on some bookmarks I did struggle with it and some I didn't. But I'm looking forward to using that book soul color after I have this project done and working an hour or so a day with it, along with everything else that I'm going to do, and get a better feel for watercolor. Now, after this, I moved on to working on this specific bookmark, and I really tried to take into account the individual's pantry library. And even though I should say this bookmark and the next bookmark that I'm about to do, this bookmark has more to do with the library part of it, and the person really wanting to encourage the kids within their community to read more and to get more invested in their education, and the parents within their community to also get more invested in what their kids are learning at school, and unfortunately not as much as learned at school, and having the parents be more invested in their children's education. And I think that is very important. I don't have kids, but I have a lot of friends who are teachers, and they talk about how hard it is to make sure that, or try to help the kids have a better education, but how they're limited by the way the system is set up now, and how so many of their kids that are in high school especially are really reading at 4th or 5th grade level. And the thing that I think is really sad is that when I was in school back in the 60s and 70s, we were really encouraged to think outside of the box. We were encouraged to think creatively. And it seems to me that education now is rote memory, learn for the test. And that's really not how education, in my opinion, should be. So I did this as a bookmark to honor what this person is trying to do for their community, and providing the books for their community, and encouraging their community to be invested in reading and gaining knowledge. So we're about to go into the next bookmark. Okay, next bookmark. And we're going to use only gouache with this, as I have never used gouache, and just like with watercolors. First time on this, so wish me luck, and we will see what I can learn from working with gouache. I have wet all the dried gouache with the antifungal water solution. And it looks like the top part of the gouache is wet and becoming liquidy. I'm not sure if I like the dried gouache. A lot of people work with dried gouache. I really liked how it came out of the tube and it was very, very fluid out of the tube and hardly had to use anything. So we'll see how this goes. What I like about this is if I wanted to, I could take this out and use this. Could even have free trays, but probably what I want to do is, I saw the person who reviewed this, and I'll do it eventually. They went out and bought, I think, white enamel painter that would stick to plastic, and they painted this also white. So that way, when they took it out, everything was white. So, but we're not going to do that right now. So let's see, we got this here. One thing that I was really surprised at was I knew gouache was matte, but I did not realize how quickly that gouache dried. And at some point in here, I quickly learned that it's better to make up as much of the color that I need and get that color down than trying to remember how I got a color and recreate it. So definitely make enough of the color ahead of time to fill out the painting that I'm working on. The other thing that I realized as far as bookmarks and timing and everything like that, and I'll probably do for other communities, is that I am going to definitely do unique. Each bookmark will be different, but I'm going to definitely make sure that only one or two of the bookmarks are as detailed as this one is, and the one prior to it that I did in watercolor. Because with this much detail in a bookmark, I love it. It was a lot of fun doing it, but it definitely took a lot more time to do it. And of course, maybe as I get more accomplished at doing this, and I'm not as much of a beginner with creating and painting, etc., I may get a little faster. But to me, speed is not what is important so much as the creation part of it. However, if I'm going to be doing this for other communities, which I plan on doing, and if you find that you like what I'm doing here, all of this is free. I'm doing this with my own supplies, and I'm giving this away to various different communities, this specific one. But after I do this, I'm doing my own community, and then I'm going to let people know that if they have little libraries in their area or charities that need something artistic, that they can contact me, and I'll be more than happy to do things like this for their community for free. And my hope is along the line, somewhere down the line, people will, how do I want to say this? I will keep doing this as long as I financially can do it for free for people. And I intend to always do it for free. And my hope is somewhere down the line, people will either make donations through my PayPal Me link here on YouTube, and or get something off of my Blick Wish List to help me continue doing this for free. You will be hearing me say a few times throughout this video how much I am loving doing this and how much I am loving my new creative life and discovering my creativity. Okay, we're back to watercolors, and here's a good example of what I was talking about, how I was really struggling with understanding the amount of water pooling, and I had originally thought this was going to be a flat amount of color, and I realized afterwards, and after doing this project, that and I watched some other watercolors that I need to practice a lot more on watercolor and just doing squares or circles where I practice on maintaining a flat amount of color throughout the square or circle. Now, that's not to say I don't love this bookmark. I do. I do like how it turned out. It just took me more to get to where I felt like, okay, I like how this looks. The other thing, I'm not really one to paint flowers, but I know that people like flowers, and this person specifically likes tulips. So I want to get obviously better at doing flowers so that when I do something for specific people on their flowers, and if they like flowers, that I can do it easily. Now, one of my favorite artists is Van Gogh. I like a lot of the surrealists, and I also like impressionists like Van Gogh. And I sort of had his style in mind, sort of. And I really enjoyed doing this bookmark. But as you will see later in the video down the road, when it came to trimming and when it came to cutting the bookmark and doing the trim on the bookmark, etc., this little guy was my big experiment. It is smaller than it turned out. This one became smaller than my other bookmarks because this is the one that I made real mistakes on. And I was like, okay, he became sort of my favorite just because he sacrificed the size of the bookmark, and any mistakes I can make with doing this whole project, fortunately, ended up being on this one bookmark. So I love this. I love the colors. I love what I did. I'm sorry that it turned out it's going to be smaller, and you'll see down the road why. I really enjoyed doing this particular bookmark. I don't know exactly where I got the idea for it. I think it was from another creator on YouTube that does strange buildings and fantastical buildings, and he's from Portugal, I think. Anyway, I sort of got the idea from that, and I was thinking about how I like to read at night before going to bed, and I was thinking of the full moon, bedtime stories, that whole thing. And the one thing I learned when inking in, really pay attention to where you're putting the lines, because I made a couple mistakes and I had to Posca mark with acrylic white marker out one of those lines. And then I also remembered the problems I was having with the watercolor as far as puddling, etc. So I decided that I was going to do 2 layers of the watercolor to get a real midnight, night pitch black feeling to the bookmark. And I am going to have to practice making tiles because I tried to make tiles for this roof and it just wasn't working. And I think the most fun I had of doing this bookmark was doing the actual moon for this. It was very interesting looking at images of the moon and seeing the craters and how much shading was different there. It was a bit of a struggle at first. I did sketch it out in my ugly notebook, but I think I got the moon down pretty well as far as representing it. Okay, for purposes of time, because I had wanted to get the whole project out by today, however, I did not realize the amount of time that it would take learning everything and also the editing, putting everything onto my computer, etc. And so this probably won't go out until Friday to the person I'm sending to. for their little library, pantry library. So for the benefit of time, the rest of these I am going to do with markers. So let's go ahead and start on this one. And also, I'm not quite sure. I don't know how easy it would be to work with gouache on this, so I'll experiment with that at another time. But as I said, for purposes of time constraint, I want to go ahead and get this out by Friday. And in order to do that, I need to finish up these bookmarks. I have affirmation cards I need to do, a personal card I would like to create for the person, and just to thank them for doing a pantry library for their community. And also, I want to create a box for them to hold the affirmation cards in, so they can get them out one at a time or however they want to do it. So anyway, let's see. How do I want to do this? I think I'm going to go ahead and, let's see. Let's outline the book. Let's outline the book. Let's try this. I think it's so funny that I thought I was going to get this out on Friday, and then somewhere in the video I'll say, okay, Monday, and then I'll realize can't quite do it on Monday. And then I said Wednesday. Then I said Thursday. Sorry. With being retired, the one thing I'm realizing is with being retired, you don't look at the calendar all the time, and you don't realize what the actual dates are. So I went to the post office on Thursday without realizing it was Juneteenth. So it actually went out. This package actually went out on Friday. So anyway, I really enjoyed doing these bookmarks, and these last bookmarks was really, I was thinking about children and what they would like to have in their books. So that is where the balloons came from. I was thinking of boys, and a lot of boys like rocket ships and doing that type of thing. Girls do too, but I'm not saying it, but my first thought when I had the image of it was boys and rocket ships and the unlimited possibilities that we have for taking off with our imagination, something in that realm. And don't get me wrong, the first thought was boys with the rocket ships. I do know girls, and there are girl and female astronauts, but as far as visualization, that's where it came from. And with this bookmark, what really came to mind was what the person has been saying, who runs this, who has been saying about how important education is and reading is, and how important it is for them to help their community get more involved with reading. And for some reason, the term knowledge leads to confidence came into my mind. And that is one thing I totally agree with, that the more that we read and the more we understand about the world around us, the more we'll have an understanding of the world, and the more we'll have confidence about ourselves within the world and within what we want to do in the world. So that's where this bookmark came from. Okay, one of the things that I decided for the bookmarks is, this is partially an ego thing. The bookmarks, I still have 3 more to do, but I'm going to do the washes for backings of the bookmarks. I'm going to do washings on the watercolor paper, on the hot press or the smooth side, because I want to write quotes for the backs of the bookmarks. And I'll also do that on the cardstock. Hopefully I'll take some water after I do this. And the reason I'm doing backings is, as I said, this is part of ego, because the paper, this is 140 press, and this is the cheap 140 press, and this is the cardstock. And I put a lot of work into the bookmarks, and I don't want them ripped, number 1. And number 2, I don't want them to be easily thrown away without some thought to it, if that makes any sense. I know that's partially ego, and I do have a policy whenever I give anything. I've had this policy since my early 20s, is not to have any expectation when I give something. Once I give it, once it's released from my hand, there is no expectation of gratitude, of enthusiasm, of a certain response, or anything like that. They may like it, they may not like it. So, but until I release it from my hands, I'm going to put as much energy and love and fun into whatever I'm doing in order to be able to give a gift that I want to give. And I just did a test, and in comparison, here's the cardstock. See how flimsy that is? If I do a backing, which will glue it, you can see how much firmer and stiffer that is. And so I think it'll be something that somebody would want to either hold on to for longer than a piece of paper that could easily get bent in comparison to something like this. And the same thing with the watercolor paper. The same thing, it could be easily bent. You know, this is much stiffer. And I'm keeping as you can see, I'm keeping the tape on here so that when I glue the backings, when I do the gluing, if there's anything that runs out on the edges or anything, there's less chance of it getting onto the actual paintings of the bookmarks. So what I'm going to do is just a really simple wash, and I'm not done this before, as in everything that I've done, so we'll see how this goes. This is just going to be a really simple wash. All I'm really wanting to do is get the whiteness off of page, so I'm not looking for anything drastic. Just enough to give a hint of color. Hopefully this will work, as I'm hoping or expecting it to do. Well, I like this brush. This is one of the new brushes that I bought. Nice for a wash, very thick. It's a 3 1/4 Royal soft grip. So let's see. I want to put a little yellow ochre in here. No expectations of any. Yes, this looks great. This doesn't look great. Oh, well, that looks better. Okay, I'm going to do that. As I say, no expectations, and I go, well, whoa, I like that better. I like experimenting. This is fun. This has been a fun project, and I still have more to do. I have affirmation cards to do after this. As I said, I have three more bookmarks to do on cardstock. Do you think I should put some red in there? Some maroon in there. Ooh, like that. See how much this is buckling? And that's because I didn't stretch the paper. Also, it's the cheaper paper, but I have to say that I am very impressed with this paper. This is excellent paper for experimenting with, for doing projects like this that aren't, super expensive or anything like that. And I would be going crazy if I was doing this on my Arches paper. I am experimenting, having no qualms of fears of what am I doing or anything like that. And it's 140-pound inexpensive paper. It was 120 sheets for something like $25. If you're interested, I don't have an affiliate code or anything like that. If you're interested in it, let me know in the comments and I will put it in the description. I'm just saying that because I may forget to put it into the description. I think I should stop. How was that for stopping? Okay, let's see what happens. Let's use our hair dryer to dry this because I want to do the cardstock too. Get to move some of this pooled water around. That's good enough. That's the other thing that I like about this project. No bookmark has been perfect. It's been a learning experience, and I have been learning to say it's good enough. So actually, let me keep this on here. I'm going to keep this on here for the same purpose of, though this, you need to separate this here. Put this off to the side so I can re-glue it later in a moment, I think. What I was saying is that this whole project is a learning experience. I get to help somebody's little library, plus I get to learn, and I get to make mistakes and not feel crazy about it. I've just been enjoying this whole project. Oh, you're not going to. So let me show you what I'm going to do, what I've been doing. So all I do is lift this off. I'm going to do this carefully. It's probably not sticking because it's really wet and I'm doing it too fast. Well, I'm not letting it dry. You know what? I'm not going to worry about this. Oh, that's interesting. These were the little tabs that I was using to hold down the sheets of freezer paper, so I wouldn't ruin my bookmarks. What I will do is I will retape this when I go to glue it. I will show you how I'm going to do the gluing of the backing and what my idea of it is to be, and then you can tell me if you have a better idea and a better way of doing it. If somebody has done something similar, I'd love to know and see your process and see if I'd like to incorporate it or try it and compare it. So I think that's going to be a pretty interesting backing to a card. When they turn it over, I'll have a quotation on there, something about reading, life, whatever. I'll look up some quotes, and I think that will be interesting. And then I might put in some pen marks or some type of markings so both sides can be just as pretty. But that's definitely still very, very damp. So hold on, I will take down cardstock and I will be right back and we'll discover together how the cardstock does. Okay, we're going to do the same exact thing for the cardstock, though I anticipate it's going to work and buckle a lot more, but that's okay. We're experimenting. We're going to find out. It definitely soaks in a lot faster. It's So what I'm going to do is this, what I'm doing right now. Oh, that's much deeper. Don't want it that deep. So it's quite different with cardstock, obviously. So what I'm going to do is let this dry over for a few hours, and then I will, interesting, and then if we're going to bed, I'm going to put the buckled watercolored paper and this cardstock under some books to flatten it, to help flatten it. This is a great learning experience, isn't it? So it soaks in completely fast. This is telling me, I was going to use and I probably still will, I was going to use the gouache on the cardstock. And I have to remember that it's going to be even faster drying on the cardstock. Look how fast that just soaks into the water, into the cardstock. Okay, and I think we're going just to do some quick maroon like we did before. I want to get some more red in it. I'm yellow in there to off color that maroon a little bit. Ooh, that's nice. Well, I like that. All right. We're going to call that done. What do you think? What do you think? Oh. Okay. I'm going to stop playing. We're going to call that done. So like I said, I'm going to give this a couple hours to dry. Let's dry it real quick a little bit with the hairdryer. And then when it's completely dry before going to bed, I'm going to put these under some books to completely flatten as best as I can. Tomorrow, we will glue the backings, and I'll show you how I do that. And we'll go from there. While the backings are glued, while those are drying, we'll work on the affinity cards. I hope you are enjoying this full process video. Okay, folks, let's move on to the gluing process. Okay, we are now going to glue the backing to the front, or the front to the backing. And first time I'm doing this, I experimented with just using the golden regular gel mediums, regular gel gloss. And this is really old gloss, and I really don't like the high gloss. And it worked. And instead of using my Mod Podge, I figure let's use up old supplies first. And I'm going to make plenty for future use. Just keep it in this container here. And I know this stuck before with what I did before, but to be on the safe side, I am going to I'm going to add a little bit of the PVA glue, just a little bit, to make absolutely positively sure it's still liquidy, but it's good enough. Don't need anything more for that. I'm used to glue being thicker. I'm thicker than that. There should be plenty between the gloss medium and the glue in here. Should be fine. So what I did, let's start with the cardstock. So here is the backing. I drew guidelines here. I believe that's the way it's supposed to go. Yeah, yep. And I got guidelines here. So I'm going to put these down. And the benefit of having this tape here, as I said previously, is trying to avoid any glue that goes over the edge, to avoid it getting to the card. And also having the basing here, I don't have to go to the absolute edge on here. So I'm going to use, like I said, this is my first time doing this. So if anybody has any ideas that I should do it differently, feel free to speak up. Using as you can see, a foam brush. Probably didn't put out enough glue. Probably need to do more. It's all a learning experience. This does have to go to the edge a little bit. I think got that covered well. Definitely did not put out enough glue, for everything that I need to do. So we're going to be making some more glue concoction in a moment for watercolor papers. This is the exciting part. What I'm going to do is, once these are put together, I am going to put them in my pie board there. The sheets fit paper, and I'm going to put a book on it to weigh it down. All right, let's see how this does. Okay, we are going to weigh it down like this. And now trust my hands. So we use this sprayer to make sure I got everything down. Looks good, looks good. Oops, there's a bit of an edge there. Let's do the other side here. Oh, that's good. That's up above. I think I got enough glue here, but we gotta make sure Let me use an old brush. Let me use an old brush here. Let me get this corner here. It's pretty good. Should all be good because they're at the margins that are going to be cut off anyway. Let's just make sure. I think I'm going to be okay. I'm not worried about this side because it's all up here. This all feels like it's matted down well. It's an experiment, folks. I know it's curling because it's wet. I do the back side once more. I think we're good there. I know it doesn't feel like we got any glue. So, I'm putting this one in the drawer. I do think the next set of bookmarks that I do, I will, after using up what's left of this, I will still use the acrylic medium to glue the two together, but I don't think I'll put as much glue in with the medium. I think one of the things is it might have been a little too thick on how I applied the medium glue, so I'm going to have to experiment with that. Okay, I am realizing the scope of how much more I have to do, so this will not be going out yesterday. It will not be going out Friday. It definitely will be going out. I was going to work on the affirmation cards. However, I think instead first I'm going to do the fun part of taking off the tape on the bookmarks. Look at this. This has worked out. These are good, solid bookmarks. They're not going to bend easily or anything like that. Need to remind you, the lesson I learned last night is that I almost did not wait for these to dry completely before putting books on. It's going to be very wet, especially with how much of the medium I put and the glue I put. I know that I don't need to put that much anymore. But with even if I did, wait until everything is completely dry because the dampness is going to soak through. And if you've worked with watercolor or anything water-based, it might make things smudge. I had to kind of rework this one just a little bit because I put the book on it too fast to flatten it. And about 30 minutes later, I was like, let me check. And I was like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. So I took the books off, let it completely dry, then put the books back on and nice, flat, etc. So we're going to speed this up so you can see me turning off the tape, which is, I think, the fun part. And then I'm going to cut the bookmarks. And, oh, doesn't that look nice? And then I will work on the affirmation cards. And while those affirmation cards are drying, the paintings for the affirmation cards are drying, I will write the quotes or the thoughts on the back of the... Those look so good. And this tape worked really well so far, at least with watercolor it did. I think with the markers, we'll see in a minute. Doesn't this look great? What I'm going to do, well, you'll see when I cut, I'm going to put a 1/8 border around all of these and then put a border, just do a quick border around each of these. Because it may not be completely straight, and I don't want just a white border that can show smudge marks. This green front tape seems to have done really well. It's not tearing up the paper. I think with the cardstock, there may be, I know there may be some tearing because it's not as strong a paper. This is 100% cotton, 140 pound, and the cardstock is 100 pound cardstock. Oh, I'm so happy. I can't tell you how happy I am. I'm happy because this is my first major creative project, and I'm not doing it for myself. I'm doing it, see, it did tear just a little bit there. I'm doing it for somebody else. I like it when I can do things for other people, even if I'm a hermit. I think that's what excites me about doing this project, is that even though I stay home all the time, this is a way that I can give back to my community by doing my art in different projects down the road. And I can do it by staying home, not having to be around a lot of people and possibly getting sick, especially now that with our government, they're trying to do away with any vaccines or vaccine oversight or anything like that. So who knows who's going to be sick out there. I'm in enough pain as it is on a regular basis. I do not feel like getting sick on top of that. Woohoo! Woohoo! It did tear. Fortunately, tore in the center. Somebody said, hold on, let me get my... I saw somebody video, a couple people's videos that said if the paper starts tearing, and of course this is cardstock, it might tear no matter what, but we're going to try this, to use a hairdryer on the tape, and it will help release the glue. Let's see how it... I'm glad that if it's tearing in the center and not so much around the edge. And as we can see, at least with the green tape and on cardstock and with marker, it did bleed a little bit. It's not as tight a line, which is partially why I was anticipated ahead of time to do a small trim and then just paint the trim. I know there's going to be a tear on this because I was just doing a peek many days ago, and I know there's a tear in here somewhere. By my having that backing, that's going to help with the trim. I'm going to have to consider that what trim I use for that, so that one, it doesn't bleed because the paper's more exposed. Then over here, I will probably put everything, bookmarks and affinity cards, after I have completed everything and put the coating, varnish, whatever I decide to do, and that has dried. I will probably put everything under books for a few hours just to make sure each thing lays flat. You know what, after I cut these, instead of waiting to the end, after I cut these, since I have the affirmation cards to do, I am going to put these under books, which will make it easier if they're flat. If they're flattening while I'm painting the affirmation. So something about this cardstock on this end. And actually these were the first two that I did. So gotta remember this. If I do anything on cardstock rather than Bristol board, because, you know, bookmarks, I don't want to use my expensive paper. All right, looks nice. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get, just want 1/8 of an inch. And I have a paper trimmer, but I want to use these lines as a guide, just in case I didn't tape one of the cards down by exact measurement. I want the trim here. I want to be able to card in the trimmer along these lines, so the trim on the actual card, even if it's a little off, is the same. That I mismeasured. And it's so easy for me to mismeasure. Having the ability to know if something's off by 1/16 of an inch, which that is, or 1/32 of an inch, is a blessing and a curse. And I always hear my father yelling at me at how horrible a job I did. I did those curtains, and that one panel was 1/16 of an inch off. How could I measure so poorly? It's 1/16 of an inch off. I can't believe you can't take pride in your work. It's 1/16 of an inch off. Dad, nobody's going to see that but us. And once it's hanging, you're not going to be able to find it because the panel is in the middle. I know that was probably just 1/32 of an inch off. Only time I'm hearing his voice anymore with this art project is when I'm measuring. With my next set of bookmarks, I am not going to draw lines. I am, get out of my head, going to probably do individualized bookmarks after this, working with this. As you will see, I have some real issues with measuring and the way I laid this out. So I think originally I'm just going to cut each bookmark large enough, wide enough, and then do individual rather than one full sheet. Keep that in mind, full 24 hours if you're doing it glued back into your bookmarks. Unless, of course, you're doing this on 300-pound paper, but I'm not going to use 300-pound paper for a bookmark. The 300-pound paper I have will be used for once I feel that I'm very accomplished enough with watercolor and gouache or whatever else, and I will use that for a masterpiece painting, but not a bookmark. Put glasses on. Ooh, how am I going to? Oh, there's the cutting edge. That's when I'm going to go over it twice. All right, I need to do it twice. Still is off. I shall fix it in the painting of the trim. That's what I'll do. That is what I shall do. Still glad I'm still off cutting it a little bit. All right, this is reality, folks. I am glad lines in there. This will tell me what I need to learn. One way to find out. And it is completely off. All right, I'm not going to use this. Not that this wasn't good, it's just that these on watercolor paper are too thick for it to do one cut through, and I am not measuring it well, can't see it well. Art and learning is all experimentation. I don't think kids get to learn by experimentation in school anymore, and that's sad. This is the one that's the biggest mistake. And I will just have to fix it when I do the trim. That was the first one, and that was the biggest mistake. You know what's funny about this one? This particular one? Remember what I was saying about how I almost ruined these because I put books on them too fast? This is the one that I discovered. So this is the one that is saying, if you're going to make any mistakes, make them all on me. So this one is going to be a very much tinier bookmark, but it's still going to be a nice bookmark. And I'm going to have a tinier trim on it. So the watercolor paper glued, those are done. This one sacrificed himself to be smaller, to be the experiment. And it is going to still be gorgeous, even though it's just a little bit smaller. I bet you anything since it's not the heavier watercolor paper, it could go through that cutter, but I'm not taking any chances. I've learned my lesson. This is really more to document what I'm doing, helping other people who are starting out, intermediates, maybe even advanced people, who knows. I'm trying to show you the real. Okay, I give up another sacrificial lamb to this one. This is going to probably just end up with a black border. So what I'm trying to do is show you the real work of what goes into this, doing anything creative. I think people get this idea on YouTube of how quickly everything takes, because it's edited, like I'm editing it, and you can see how much effort and time. Just this one project is taking me, of course I'm doing editing, so it's taken me a full week to do this. I put in at least 6-7 hours. So let's just call it a 40-hour week to do this. Let's go ahead and divide that in half, because I've also been editing as I go along, doing the video work and editing. So let's say this project, once I'm fully done with it, has taken 20 to 30 hours to do. And especially now with AI, learn to appreciate handmade work. I'm going to eat after doing the edit of this, so I'll be eating in another hour. And then I will work on the affirmation cards. I have to tell you, I am so in love with what I'm doing. I am in so much love with what I'm doing. I absolutely, positively love what I am doing. I love that I am officially retired now. I love that I am being a creative person. Something I always wanted to be, was discouraged from being when I was a kid, young adult, by my parents, by my own creative parents, and my own fears and tribulations and cautions. Okay, now we're going to work on the trim. You can, if you're doing a bookmark, you can leave the white trim or not. I don't want to leave the white trim because I don't want it to get all worn and smushed looking. Even if we put the varnish, wax varnish over it, I still want to have it look finished. So most of these are going to have a gold trim, and 3 of these are going to have a black trim. So hopefully this will go fast. I'm using the tape. I'm using Posca acrylic markers rather than the alcohol markers or the Sharpie markers, because I know those bleed underneath the tape. I'm hoping, praying that that will not happen with these. I'm wondering if this isn't working well. I'm wondering if it would just be better for me to... Oh, there we go. I'm wondering if it would be better for me to get out the Schmincke. That's not working. I shall be right back. Okay, we are going to try the Schmincke. Okay, I'm going to mix this and I'll be right back. Okay. Put my thinking cap on this time. Instead of spraying it, I used my eyedropper. And I also tried to remember that last time I used too much water. So I try not to use as much water this time. Let's see if this will go on a little easier. Yes. Okay. Hopefully this won't ruin Bookmark. Let's hope not. The concern is that with the gold, when I first tried this, when I was doing the swatching, I didn't have the water to powder mixture correct, and it rubbed off easily. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen here. I may end up doing is letting it dry and coming back with a second coat if it's testing it, and if it's powdery like it was before, because I don't have the mixture quite right, I'll have to redo it. Let's hope not. Interesting. Okay, those were all cardstock, and the gold is taking to this, so maybe the gold doesn't take as well to the cardstock because this is soaking right in. This is giving me more hope. So it looks like my best guess is that this does not work as well on cardstock, and I will have to come up with some solution. Either do another coat, which is probably going to be the case, or do a thicker coat, because this is doing really well on the watercolor paper. Okay, you get the idea. And I'm going to do the same on the back here, and then write in the quote that I penciled in. I will show you the end results because this is really taking longer. I'll just record, speed up everything really super fast. I know this might look a little bit tedious in doing the trimming, and it was to a certain degree, but I found it more meditative. However, I did find that with the gold trim, it did not do as well on the cardstock, and I had to keep repairing it. I also found that it would also rub off onto the other bookmarks, and I would have to fix that also. So I probably will not do the gold trim again on the bookmarks, and or I will find a different way of doing the bookmarks. And it could basically be because I'm still having to find the right formula of the Schmincke powder to water, and I'm just learning how to use it. So it works really well on watercolor paper. Now, when I came to the quotes on the back, all I did was I looked up quotes that were specific about reading, leadership, and education, taking into account what the pantry library for this person's community was about, since it covered mainly women and children within their communities. So I tried to focus mainly on those three areas of reading, leadership, and education, and for the makeup of the community. So I enjoyed doing this, and it piqued my interest, some of these artists that I saw on here. Okay, we are going to start the affirmation trading cards, and I am just going to speed the video through this so you can watch. This was fun to do. I've just never done this type of drawing on a large format, usually on the smaller format. And I've been doing this since I was a kid in the 60s and 70s. I called it doodling, and I still call it doodling or drawing. I know everybody today, for some reason, calls it Zentangle, but in my day, this was just doodling. And it was a way to take your mind off of things that were going on in the world, and it was a way to be creative, and it was just fun to do. I also have, which I'll probably do on some of my other bookmarks that I create, I used to do a lot of curves and leaves. I've always liked curves throughout my life, and I would do vines and curves and flowers. Not really flowers per se, but sort of stylized flowers. And I've been doing that since the 60s and 70s. So it's not, I don't call it Zentangle. I call it what it is for me, is doodling. I really enjoyed doing the watercolor on this, whereas on the bookmarks, I had done this style with the alcohol markers. So this was a learning experience, and I did find doing this specific shadowing was a lot of fun. There were some areas that were a little bit of a trial and error for me, such as with the yellow and the purple. And I was just trying to get more of a shade with the yellow but a darker purple, a darker color. And I like the outcome of it. It's just in my mind, it wasn't what I was anticipating. And I think that's what's kind of fun about art, is we might have something in our mind of how we want to do something and how it's going to look. But when we actually execute it, it comes out and looks different. And sometimes it looks a lot better than what we imagined it to look like. And then other times, not so much. But overall, I was very happy with how this turned out. And some people might go, oh my gosh, you put all that work into it and you end up cutting it up for affirmation cards? And it's like, yes. But that's why for the affirmation cards, I'm more interested in doing something abstract than having to worry about doing anything that is very detailed or specific for each card, like doing a flower for each card, or doing, bicycles or balls or suns or, whatever, a actual picture for each card. That's, to me, going to be more difficult and slower than doing one large abstract painting and then cutting it up and possibly marking it up afterwards with markings. I also did using the same colors, I did the wash for the back of that. Now on this painting, and I'm really going to try and make sure that I put the links for all the artists that I was influenced by, or I said, oh, I like that technique, or how I liked that look. And I want to make sure I put them in the description. But this painting, it's like a combination of various artists' videos that I watched. Some who were doing what they call Zentangle, some who were doing this type of watercolor imagery with flowers and the abstract flowers. Another wash. Oh, this artist, that's what I was going to try and say. I follow another artist that I find very interesting. He does watercolor, but then he outlines the various aspects of how the watercolor flowed within the painting. And I'll make sure to put his link in the description below. I really enjoyed how this turned out. And of course, here we go with the gluing of the backings. This was much easier since it was the same sheet to the same size sheet, which is probably going to be why I'm going to do individual bookmarks instead of one sheet and cutting that one sheet. And you can see here how easy it was for me to cut up for the affirmation card size rather than trying to
do one painting for each affirmation. And made just a very simple background marking design. And then I looked up affirmations for kids and affirmations for women, and just went ahead and wrote that on the backs of each of the cards.
Okay, I was way off on when I thought I would get this project out the door, and that's okay. It was all a learning experience. What's holding me up, I still have the sleeves to do in the greeting card, but that's about it. But what held me up is going to be holding me up is I did more reading on using the cold wax medium as a protective for the watercolors and mixed media, etc. And did not realize for the best protection, I need to put a layer on, wait 2 or 3 hours, some time for it to not be as tacky, buff it out, put another thin layer on, wait 3 or 4 more hours, buff that out, and put a third layer on, wait 24 hours, give it 24 hours, buff it out till it's nice and smooth, and then the art piece will be fully protected. See, I had buffed this out only after 2, and it's nice, and these are still, I didn't buff these out, they're a little bit more matted looking, and they're also, tacky a little bit, and I want a nice matte sheen to it, and for it to be protected. So that's going to take some time. So it will definitely go out Wednesday, because this is about the only thing I have left to do, plus put the tassels on this, and the sleeves for the affirmation cards, the greeting card, and the envelope for the greeting card. And then the project is done. It's taken 2 weeks to do this project. What was I saying? Oh, the project itself, after this, I'm going to give myself 1 or 2 days rest and get some of my dishes that have been piling up cleaned, etc. And then I'm going to do the bookmarks and affirmation cards for my community's little library. And after that, we'll see what the next project is. So I'm going to obviously speed this up quickly for you, like I had the rest of the videos. I just wanted to show you what I need to do with this. Is simply what you do is you put a thin coat on the card everywhere, or your watercolor painting, whatever you're using the cold wax for. You just need to make sure that it covers everything. And then after, I'll probably wait 4 hours. Not sure I need to wait 4 hours, but I'll probably do 4 hours. I'll buff it out, put the second coat on, do another 4 hours. I might be asleep then, but when I get up, do another coat, buff it out in 4 hours, do a third coat, wait 24 hours, which will put me into Tuesday. And after 24 hours, then I will go ahead and package everything up and send it out to the persons who is running the little pantry library for their street, for their community. And I will release and let it go, and hope and pray that they like what I've done and it's a hit. And I'll let them know if it is a hit for their pantry. If people like it, then just to let me know when they run out, and I'll make more for them. So it may or may not be too thick, I don't know. But that's essentially what you do. And I make sure to put a fresh layer of the freezer paper down so that nothing from the old paper can get onto this. So now I'm going to shut up, and we're just going to speed along here. Okay, after the fact, here is some information. So thinner on the cold wax, buff it out in approximately 12 hours rather than 6, and give it a full week for curing before sending it out, because even after 3 days, it was dry to the touch. But if they are up against each other, they were a little bit, they kind of stuck to each other a little bit of tackiness there. However, putting it into a book, and I put one in a book and put weight on it,
and let it go for 24 hours. Had no problem in the book at all. No sticking or anything like that.
Okay, on to the next thing that I have never ever done. And I am not sure I should be doing anything today. Today is one of those Murphy's Laws days. On the bookmarks and the affirmation cards, I think that I'm going to have to give them one more day of curing, so I don't think that they're going to go out tomorrow on Wednesday. They're definitely going to go out on Thursday. How many times have I said they're definitely going to go out? Anyway, because on top of that, it's still curing. It just has slight tackiness. The cold wax, I think that I put the layers of wax on a little too thick, even though I thought it was thin. And then also when I woke up today, we had no water in my neighborhood for, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours or more. So I was without water, and I wasn't sure if I should start this project without water. And on top of that, I'm in extreme pain. This is one of those pain days, but I always usually carry on through it. So it's just one of those days. So bear with me as we learn together on this jelly art. So I'm going from what I learned from other YouTube videos. When we open this up, we are to keep the spam shell to store it in, so I'm not going to throw that away. I'm just going to put it off to the side. Let me say when I got my acrylics out here. I have my brayers. I have my other brayer, I guess you would call it. I'm forgetting what it's called, to help me with smoothing out the paper because I don't trust my hands, especially today, since everything is in pain. And I have hand sanitizer and mineral oil. From what I read is before starting, it's good to clean it and do the mineral oil and wipe everything down. So that's what we're going to do. So what I have down here is just a very old chopping board that I never threw out. It was in my closet, but I just never threw it out. Okay. So a little bit of hand sanitizer. It also said can use Dove soap, and I guess I'll just spread this out on the side. Take the paper towel and wipe this down. Well, I think that's just on the other side. And take a food grade mineral oil or baby oil. What I have off to the side outside of camera, I've got some things I can use to make markings on this. We're just going to experiment. What I'm doing here, the goal here today is to get to a point where I can do a jelly prints for the sleeves to hold the affirmation cards, those sleeves. And also I want to jelly print the design for the box. So what we're going to start off with, since I've never done this, I have copy paper here. So I'm going to, since I've never done this, I'm just going to do a simple, learn how to get the color on here. Let's do an orange. From what I understand, you don't need a lot. And let's do a yellow. This is a 8x10 jelly plate. Okay. Is that enough? Let's see. I'm not supposed to go back and forth. Gotta remember that. And also, I read where first few prints could bubble up, but it doesn't look like that's what it's doing. Clean it off. Lay down the sheet. There's a little bit watering there on the edge. I'm going to have, for the sleeves, I need 10.5 by, well, the height doesn't matter. 10.5 is length, and this is only 10, so I'll probably have to figure something out to do for the edge. I'll probably do a print for just the border, I think. Right, did I do this correctly? Let's see. Oh my gosh. Okay. All you people who do jelly prints. How did I do for my first pull? I think I did pretty well. Somehow I got those streaks in here from the brayer, I think. And I got a little bit of, I can't remember what they call it. So I have to figure out how to do the brayer. Probably do it lighter than I'm doing it, so I don't get the streaks here. And just the edges have a little bit of that pulling, or I'm forgetting what, pulling of where the acrylic is not holding on to the gel print. But from what I see, I think for my very first pull, that's pretty decent. I don't know how long those take to dry. So I'm happy. I think I did a pretty good job on that, all things considered. And I see that I've got the edge here. So I need to probably, when I do this thing, sorry, I'm in pain. I'm having brain fog. This thing, I need to make sure I get the edges really well. So let's try this. Let's do purple. I'm glad I got these. These are the Liquitex basic acrylics, the sample full set. I'm glad I did that because I get to experiment with all kinds of color. And I don't have to worry about I don't have to use a ton of paint to do this, it looks like. So maybe since I was going back and forth, I need to try to make sure that I'm going in one direction. How do I get rid of the, whoops, how do I get rid, oh, that's neat. How do I get rid of the lines? That's going to be my learning, my need to learn. Okay, now I'm seeing, this is what I was talking about, how it's pulling up. So let me put a little bit more paint on here. And that might be because, whoa, too much, because it's drying. So I need to go faster. It's warm in here. So I need to go faster. I need to go lighter. It looks like I need to go, whoops, lighter. Oh, I see. I put my finger there. Okay, I got to hold the handle back further. And then take a piece of paper quickly. Lay it down. That was not as good. There's more of that. Whoa. There's more of that feeling. Wonder if I lay it down again, what will happen? I'm going to have to practice more. But you know what? I think either I did too much. Let me clean this off. Let's try raw sienna. See what this will turn out like. What I'm going to want to also do is once these dry, I'm going to want to do the back side of the paper. That's better. That's pretty. That's better. I'm getting there. Oh, how quickly does this dry? That dries pretty quickly. We're going to do one more solid, and then we're going to try our hand at doing a couple layers. This is kind of funny because as I'm doing this and I'm talking to you, my pain is dissipating. It really is amazing how much doing something creative or doing what you love can make you not think about the pain that you're in. Definitely going to have to get used to how much paint to put down. I need to do this faster than I've been doing it. No, pressing down too heavily. Kind of splotchy there. I didn't. Probably I needed to. What? I would really love feedback from people who do jelly prints who are watching me. Now, from what I understand, we're going to have a little break here because, as I said, I'm going to try layers. And from what I understand, between the layers, I have to let everything dry, which is like 5 or 10 minutes between the layers. So let's see how this goes. Ooh. Ooh. Oh, wow. That came out nice. And I know what I did here. I let it sit there, so I need to have everything prepared and ready to go and do the paint right away. Because that's why this didn't smooth out, I believe. And we got some of the gold in there. All right. This is all a learning experience. All right. So what we're going to do is a layered one now. I'll put the paint on, put on my designs, and then we'll stop for a minute and I'll wait for it to dry. Then we'll come back together. So first, let's see, what do we want to do? I'm liking the purples right now. Let's do purple and yellow. I don't know, something's going on with the gel print because I didn't wait that long. Why is it doing, I'm going to have to do that again. I want to know, I'm going to clean this. I want to know why it's bubbling or making a pattern like that. Anybody know? Anybody can tell me? This is pretty though. I forgot we were going to do a layering here. Even though my finger got in there, the next layer, it will cover it, I believe. That'll be interesting. Happy mistakes. That's what I'm going to call them, happy mistakes. Okay, we shall be back. Okay, I waited 8 minutes, and it seems to be dry to the touch. So, yeah, it's what's tacky is the gel. And I'm also going to try, I had this, what I was using was the soft briar speedball. I'm going to try this hard one and see if that makes a difference. And let's see, we're just going to do 2 layers because I'm learning and I don't know if I'm doing this right. I'm going to make this project very simple as much as possible. And then as I progress, I'll get better, but I'll practice more complicated stuff off camera when I have the time. Let's see how this goes. Okay, let's see. Did I do it well? Oh my gosh. Look at that. Pretty decent. All things considered, as my first layer. But we still have... So let's try another. Let's try something else. Let's try... This is ivory. I want ivory black and unbleached titanium. Let's try that. I'm wondering if the hand sanitizer was not a good idea and just I should go and buy baby wipes or something like that. I do like... Whoa, what am I doing? I do like the hard roller better. It doesn't feel like I have to lay down as heavily. But I really want to know why it's pulling like that in those spots. What did I do to the print, the gel print, to make it do that? Does anybody know? Anybody have any ideas? I've got some thread here, yarn here. Let's see, we're going to lay this down, make a pattern. Oh, that looks neat. Why is it doing that? I don't like that. You know what we're going to do? I'm going to put this, and we're going to turn this over. We're going to see what the other side does. Maybe I did something to this side when I did the hand sanitizer or the baby oil. Maybe I shouldn't have done it right away. Let's find out. Everything picked up there. That wasn't a good pull. I don't like that. I really don't like that. What do you think? There's parts of it that I like. I want to clean this side. You know, there are some people that work with the gel prints very, very grungy. I don't want to do that yet. I want to learn how to do it correctly. Not that way is not correct. I want to do it how to get a really neat, simple pull. Okay, this is Murphy's Law Day. Just really a major Murphy's Law Day. All right. Okay, I haven't done anything to this side. Let's see what happens. We're going to do one pull of a color. Any color. We haven't done blue. Oh, let's do orange. Okay, boys and girls. I probably should not have used the mineral oil and pulled right away because that looks fine. So, listening to those YouTube channels, I either misunderstood something or I did something wrong. Well, obviously I did something wrong. Those are still good pages except for that one that I really don't like. I do like the harder brain roll. I like it much better than the softer roll. Okay, much better. I still have the lines, but that's much better. And I'll get better at this. I want to try that string thing again. We're going to do that blue and orange again. And I think pretty much the error was on my part of doing the mineral oil on the other side and pulling right away. I think the mineral oil is just to clean it and put paper over it and store it away until you're ready to use again. Once again, if you're a jelly print person and you know how to do this stuff easily, please let me know in the comments below with any suggestions that you might have for improving what I've done. Probably need to go out and get like a plexiglass or something like that. What I'm going to do is get this all tacked down, most of it tacked down. Let it dry, tacked down. Everything's an experiment. Let it get tacked down, dried. Pull it up after it's dry. Put the second color over it and see what we get. I'll be back in 9 minutes and we'll see what happens. Okay, this is dry. Let's do a brilliant yellow-green. Okay, after I do this one, what will turn out nice, I'll show you how I'm going to do. I'm thinking of doing the edges. We'll see if it works. And then I will do the rest off camera. You've got the idea. And I'm going to do the backs of the sheets. And then I'll come back and show you how I'm going to make the sleeves once everything is fully dried. I'm not sure. I forget why the paint wasn't completely dry. I didn't test it, honestly. I did not test it. So that might be partially it. I sure hope you don't mind learning with me. And this is how I think I'm going to do the edges. So just for what I'm doing, something really simple for these sleeves, which you'll see in a minute. This works fine. And I'll get more accomplished at doing the edges. The sleeves they're only to be a holder for the affirmation cards. They don't need to be fine art, but that still looks pretty neat to me. Well, it's neat enough for what I need. So that's what I'm going to do. Grab this and take this. And I'm going to do the frames for each of the pages. Wait till everything is very dry, do the back sides. And then I will come back when everything is completely dry and show you how I'm making the sleeves for the affirmation cards. And after that, after I make the affirmation sleeves, the sleeves for the affirmation cards, all I have left to do is the greeting card and put the tassels on the bookmarks, which I will show you. And after that, I will be done as long as the affirmation cards and the bookmarks have completely cured. Okay. Now to make the actual sleeves. Before we get into that, I did get the hang of doing the jelly print and I was able to do several other sheets. I do have to say that more than likely the jelly printing is not going to be my jam as far as creative artistic creations for hanging on the wall. I think that the most that I'm going to enjoy it is for something like this, crafting to make sleeves or paper collages or something along those lines. But as a printing process in it of itself, for me, I don't think that's going to be my jam. I'm more of a painter, drawer, that type of thing. And I do have to say that, as I've said at the beginning, today was a Murphy's Law day, big time. So I'm more than willing to keep trying and keep working at this and seeing if I do end up enjoying doing it. Not that I didn't enjoy doing it, it's too much work for the enjoyment I got out of it, if that makes any sense. Anyway, let's move on. The sleeves, this is what we're making. It's real simple sleeve for the affirmation card. So it's a nice way, instead of just handing the card to someone or putting the card in something, it's a little extra touch so that it protects part of the card. So let me show you how it's very easy to make. I cut each of the pages into 10.5 by 2 5/8. Right, 2 5/8. So whatever your card size is, it is supposed to be 4 times the length of the height. So all you do is decide, which side that I want. Since I got this white here, I'm going to want this to be the outside. So fold it in half. Take your brown folder and make a sharp edge. Then about 3/16 from the fold, approximately 3/16 of an inch. Make a fold. Then fold this down to the about 2/16 from the fold. So it's fold in half, approximately 3/16. This outer fold here, fold down from the point. You can see I've been painting with the gel prints. I need to show that I'm an artist. Anyway, so this is approximately 2/16 from the fold. Then over here, you fold it over and then match it up to the side here, and it should be approximately 1/16 or 2/16 from the fold also. Make it sharp. Then approximately 2/16 from the fold. So you're wanting to, as much as possible, line up this fold to the bottom, but also make sure that the top matches up there. Fold it, make sure that it folds over. Everything's nice and neat. Then fold this up so it matches the top. Might have a little bend here, but that's okay. People aren't going to focus on that. It's a little bit of a bend, a rounding of the corner there. But fold it over, slide it in, and there's your sleeve. And then your card fits right into the sleeve. And it's as simple as that. And I have 15 more to make. So I will speed through this. One thing I forgot to mention, and I didn't do on this, if this bothers you, which does me a little bit, there will be a little bit of an overhang here. Just take your scissors once it's folded and snip off that little bit of overhang. You can ignore it and not do anything with it if you want, or handle it. It doesn't do anything to the card.
Honestly, when I was doing the jelly printing for these, it was a Murphy's Law day, and I'm really taking that into account because as I folded these and as I'm seeing how these look, I really love how they look. And it's a great inexpensive way to color the paper and make designs on the paper, but use them for origami. I won't be doing jelly printing as an art form in the sense of creating an image to hang on the wall. It's not my style.
Okay, that's 18 sleeves done, and I have extras here for my community. So that's 18 sleeves done. Tomorrow it's about 3 o'clock in the morning, so time for me to go to bed. Tomorrow I will show you how I am going to make that box out of these 2 sheets of paper. Okay, I put these two together basically just to show you what they look like all together. I'll take them apart after doing the video part because they do need just a little bit more time to fully cure. So I'm glad I decided that these will be going out tomorrow. They're doing pretty well. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a box, this box, out of these two, and hopefully I can crease it and score it and everything without damaging it. I looked at various YouTube videos and the measurements on them were a little bit off to what I like, and this is my cheat box. I put everything as far as measurements and notes and everything in here for other items in this box. One of the things that I didn't like about the measurements on the other videos is that I don't want people to have to dump whatever's in here, the cards in here, out in order to get a box. Turn it around here. And with the sleeves on here, it also makes it a little bit. They were just doing it for the trading card, and I have sleeves on there. So I want somebody to be able to reach in. The others, with their measurements, unless I have really fat fingers, I couldn't easily just go in there and pick out one card. So that's why I have changed the measurements from what I've seen on YouTube. So the base is a square is a 7x8, and the top is a 5x6, and we're going to score the 7x8 at 2 inches on each side. And I always get nervous about this. You know, me and measuring, and my fear of being 1/16 of an inch off on anything. Probably should have used, let me not make mistakes since I only have one card. Let's do that again. Just make sure here. I have an old sewing hook that I'm used for scoring. Just going to put this gently in here. Going to do the other side. We're going to do the same thing with the similar, different measurements with the top. Nothing like doing something for the first time on camera. Okay, these folds didn't go exactly on the score. So let me do the score again. I'll use my bone folder in a minute on this. So with the top, the score is going to be at 15/16 of an inch. You're like, why can't it be just 1 inch? I guarantee you 15/16 makes it a perfect fit, whereas a full 1 inch, the top is so loose, it might as well not have a top. Okay, then what you do on my scissors on the length side, what you're just going to do is cut a very tiny V up to the corner. So just a little hair's width, like that. It could even be thinner. Then we're going to take either glue, or I have double-sided tape everything down. I know there are rollers and things that you can crafters use to be able to do this quickly with a mechanical type roller, but one, I'm just starting my creative journey and I've already spent a ton of money, and two, I'm not sure that it's something that I would need on a consistent basis. And like three, I have so much double-sided tape like this. I think I have 2 other rolls that it doesn't make sense to do anything right now. I have to get some tiny scissors. That's also a not needed right away type of item. Oops. gotta take the backing off. Hard to stick. Seriously, folks. I mean, as I've said before, it's the best blessing and a curse to see things 1/16 of an inch off or a little bit off. But seriously, you've got kids, don't scream at them if they're do something and it's 1/16 of an inch off or just a little bit off. They're going to remember it no matter how old they are. They're going to remember it. So what I also, since this is firm, this is more pliable, I'm going to cut a side panel to take in to the side there. I keep leaning back out of camera frame, I keep forgetting. Sorry about that. Okay, I messed that up a little bit. That's okay. It's just cardboard box. What I'm going to do anyway, which will hide it some, is I'll do this off camera. I'm going to take acrylic marker and just go over the top. I won't do this all on camera since it'll take a little bit of time. I know it'll kind of hide what I messed up there. I told you, cutting can be really difficult for me. I get so nervous about it. So you do the same exact thing for the top, but you don't, since the top is smaller, you don't have to worry about the sides like I just did with the lower body of the box, like I did with the sides here. So since these don't meet, what I like to do is put a little double-sided on this side and a double-sided here, so both places, so this gets taped down also. there you have a box. You can see even here with 15/16, it's a little loose, but I wanted it to be still a little loose and not completely tight. You probably could get away with going 14/16 on the scoring. And as I said, I'm going to use purple to hide the white, which will hide this a little bit. My little faux pas here. And the pink, I'm going to use pink for this. And the cards fit in nicely. Okay, now we get to do the fun part, punching holes in the bookmarks and adding tassels. I got 200 tassels for a relatively inexpensive amount on Amazon, and it came all not sorted in the box. So I went ahead and sort of sorted by color to make it easier for me to figure out which tassels I want to add. I put about a center mark on the bookmarks, and let's do the punch of the hole first. That's a scary moment. Almost thought I punched the hole in the wrong end. Yesterday was a Murphy's Law day. I don't want today to be the same. It's been a good day today. No, hardly any pain, and no Murphy's Law. Hopefully I just didn't jinx myself. These are still ever so slightly tacky. They stick to each other a little bit. So, and I've never used cold wax before. I think I'll keep using it if I use watercolor. The next bookmarks, I might try just using acrylic, so I don't have to worry about water or anything like that. But we'll see. What I'll do is when I ship it, I'll fold it, do a fan fold of tissue paper around each bookmark. So that way, by the time they receive it, it'll still have a little bit more time for curing. And hopefully oh, that was close. Hopefully by the time they receive it, that was a little, not all the way in. There's something stuck in there. That's why it's so close to the edge. That's a little scary. There's still enough room. And wax on here, the cold wax is sticking a little bit. I had not realized the cold wax would still be tacky. I think that's why some painters wait a couple weeks before selling their watercolors that are with cold wax. Okay, let's use a green with this. So what I did was there were 5 of each color, so I put them on a paper clip to make it easy. Here we go. Our first completed, absolutely completed, except a little bit more curing time, bookmark. Okay, there we go. Now all I have left to do is this little blue one does not want to stay on its little ring. Okay, those are all done now. All I have to do now is the greeting card and the envelope with the greeting card. And it's going in a box, but everything's going in a box, but I still want to do a greeting card and envelope. We're almost done, folks. This is exciting. Very exciting. Okay, I'm going to put these in front of the fan and keep letting them cure until tomorrow when I pack them up. Okay, I am going to start the greeting card, and it's going to be a simple wash. And I'm going to have an origami little container on the front of the card that will hold some things that are important to the person that I am sending the card to. And I will put the person's channel in the description below of who I follow, because I am picking up a lot of the origami ideas from that person. So I'll make sure to put it into the description below. For right now, the name is just eluding me. So we're going to do a very simple wash. Probably should have wet this. Let me wet this a little bit. Still getting used to how to work with watercolor here. This is going to end up being a 5x7 card. One of the things that I think is nice that I am starting to become a creative person is now I'm going to be able to make cards, send cards without having to pay a ton of money. That's going to be nice. I did not stretch the paper mainly because I was out of time. I am out of time. Oh, I keep forgetting I have a flat brush. That's going to do a lot better than this. Yes. Much better. I was so used to working with the round brushes. I forgot I had the flat brushes. One problem I have with the painting, it's not really a problem per se, is that with the lights on for the video, it makes it very shiny, and it's kind of hard for me to see. I have carpeting in my studio and a rug. I need to get one of those heavy-duty plastic mats for offices, which I have in the other room, but it's already torn up. It's so old. I need to get a new one. I've said it before, I'm going to say it again, for cheap paper, and yes, I'm learning to do watercolor, and I haven't worked on my expensive Arches paper yet, and I know there's going to be a difference, a big-time difference. But I do have to say, working on this has not been pull out my hair, I don't understand this, I never want to do this type of painting anymore or anything like that. I have heard how sometimes if the paper's really cheap, it can make a person not want to get very frustrated with what they're doing because it's not doing what it's supposed to be doing. I haven't really experienced that big time with this. This is more for the colors than anything else. I'm not representing anything specific. Once I'm done with this project, I have some house duties I should pay attention to. Not that I've ever paid attention to my house, per se. And then I'm going to probably next week start working on my own community's little library. We have a little library also. This person I'm doing this project for, who doesn't know, it's going to be a surprise, has a pantry little library that they manage in their community for their neighborhood, which I think is just absolutely fabulous. What I'll do is I'll put in some yellow and then pick this up and put it off to the side to let it dry the rest of the way naturally. And then when everything's dry, I'll, of course, put on the origami. No, I'll show you how I'm doing that. I'll put on the origami container, and then within here, maybe I'll add some markings with the gel pens once this is dry. I didn't think I would like so many metallic markings, and I'm finding I'm using them a lot now that I'm becoming a creative person and exploring and allowing myself to explore. And one thing that's really been great that I'm finding that I'm retraining myself is to say, okay, everything doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to start off perfect. I can go with the flow and see where it takes me. I do find that I'm still the type of person that likes a lot of color. I'm not a pastel, delicate painting type person. I was way back in late 1990s and early 2000s, I stopped being creative, 2008. I always used to say, when I was trying to learn how to paint and be creative, I always used to say, I'm going to do something soft and pastel and whatever in my acrylics and or oil paintings that I was doing at the time. And it always, no matter how much I tried, it turned out to always be strong, bold colors. Should be good. And put this in the door to finish drying out. I shall be right back. I'm going to put these up, put some other colors out in preparation. Okay, these are going to be very simple and quick, I hope. Looks okay. It's going to be kind of rough. These are just some little representations of what this person likes. I may go in here afterwards, after it's dry, with pen to outline it, to have it a little bit more illustrative. I have to say, I really thought it was going to take a lot for me to learn how to be creative again and be creative, etc. And I'm kind of surprised at and happy at how easy it seems to have picked up, for me to have picked up on some of this stuff. I'm not saying I'm perfect by any means. I'm still a beginner. I'll be a beginner for a long time. But I don't have the same trepidation at all. I have no trepidation in comparison to when I was trying to be creative in the 90s, late 90s and early 20s. I think that's because I wasn't as sure of myself at that time. was still struggling with various issues, like divorce, immediate family issues, etc. Didn't believe in myself as much. And with time and age, I've become a very confident, far more confident person. And I can definitely feel it. And I have to say, I know I've said this a few times throughout this video, I absolutely love what I'm doing. I love being creative. I love not having the pressure of I have to be creative in order to make money, that I'm doing this stuff for my enjoyment and for free and to help other people. This I'm doing from memory. This is Jamaican person likes coffee and likes, I believe, the Jamaican coffee. So I'm doing this definitely from memory of looking at the picture. I have, in the next month or two, once I have, oh shoot, what am I using here? Once I have the finances straightened out as far as retirement, etc., I'm doing this from memory of looking at it on my computer before I came over here to work on this, because I'm recording the video with my phone. The tablet I used to have, I hardly ever used, to the point that when I went to use it, it was so old that it wouldn't work. None of the apps would work or anything like that. So I need to get a new tablet, which I plan on doing in the next few months. If you'd like to donate to that, I got my PayPal me in the description below. No, I'm just joking. I'm just letting you know what I'm doing this completely from memory. The person will know what it's supposed to be because I'm going to put in the down here Jamaican coffee, etc. So even if it's not visually, even if it's not something that they're like, what is this? The words will tell them it's supposed to be Jamaican, the Blue Mountains, the Jamaican coffee, the one that you like so much. I'm going to call that good enough. No, I'm not. I'm going to make this, one thing I'm going to do is make this blacker down here. I'm going to have to call that done. Probably need to wait till that dries somewhat. And if I end up not liking it, I can always not put it in the card. That is one thing I do like about myself. I can visually see things in my mind of what I want something to look like. It's just a matter of being able to execute it. I think this is going to be a late night for me because higher hell water. This is going out today. Or is it today now? Probably is today now. Well, I will definitely embellish this one with pen markings or something like that once it's fully dry. Okay, I'm going to call it good enough. Everything's good enough. Right to you. Have to learn how to do flowers. Maybe. I'm not sure if that's something I'm interested in learning how to do. I'm going to have to let that dry for a while. I'll put it under the hair blower and I'll be back. Let's stop me there. To show you what I do with that. But this is how we're going to do the origami pot that I showed you. This. I'll show you how to fold it. It's really simple. And I'll really try and remember to put the person's YouTube channel in the description because she really has some very interesting origami scraps this prepared so I can do a 6x6 square. So you know, obviously can do this with any paper that you want. If you have origami, you probably already know how to do this. Whoops, 6x6. So you have an origami piece, and if you have a piece that has design on both sides, decide which side you want to be show the most. I'm going to want this to show the most. So you go first fold point to point. Let me get my bone folder. Okay. Like that way. Then all you do is point to point. You don't really make a crease. You're just making a point so you know where you're going to fold. You're going to fold this to that center so you know where it is. Like that. And this is going to go on the inside because you're going to, or I'm going to be gluing this to the card. Then at this point, you fold it so that it's straight over and matching the point. Same thing on the other side. Fold so it's at the point. Oh yeah, and then you take this point and match it up to the point down here. See right there, where your two previous folds match. Then you fold over to the edge here, like that. And then you're going to, this is the hardest fold, then you're going to bring this so it's in line, in a horizontal line of here. Make sure that's creased really well. Going to do the same on the other side. Trying to make it as even as possible. Fold it down. Then what you're going to do is open it up, and this should easily fold inside. Just make sure everything matches up so it's even like that. Fold it, yeah. Same thing with the other side. And since this is painted paper, it's a little harder. But just make sure that you're folding in on the creases. And there you have a pocket. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to embellish each of these, then cut them out and figure out how to fit them in here. And once I do that, I'll show you what it looks like. I will, once I like the arrangement, I'll glue them together, put them in here, glue it so that everything's glued, and then glue this to the actual card. So that's how you make a little pocket. Okay, I am going to do some embellishments of this, then do the cutouts for it, and then we'll do the card. I'm a little frustrated. I had a perfect day yesterday. It's early morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever, so I guess we called it today. But that last section, my video editor has done this like 3 times, doing like a strobe light thing the first minute of the video, and this time I couldn't fix it at all. I'm not happy about that at all. I'm gonna leave that as is. Okay, now the scary part. Scary part for me. Cutting this out since I don't have tiny scissors. Hold your breath. I was the kid that never broke anything. But if I could cut myself on something, a piece of glass or a knife or something, that would be me. Let's see, since these are bigger, maybe I can do my large scissors. Where are my large scissors? I'm really excited about sending this out. I hope the person likes it. Like I've said earlier in the video, once I send it out, I let go and release. I hope and pray that people like what I do for them. But I learned a long time ago from my parents and from other people in my life that I'm not saying this is necessarily a bad thing. What I've learned from parents, family members, people, society, myself, just go on down the line, is that our expectations in our mind are different than what other people's realities may be. So what we might think is absolutely terrific and a great gift or a great thing for us to do for somebody else, they may not feel the same way. Or there is unnecessary expectations. Without naming names, when Katrina hit and there were so many people displaced, I knew someone who helped someone else out, which was terrific. But then when the person found a place to move on to, the person that I knew was complaining to me that they didn't even thank them and they had given them designer clothes. I was thinking, these people just survived Katrina. Maybe etiquette is not the first thing on their mind. I'm sure they appreciate the clothing, whether it was designer or not. That's the type of thing that I'm talking about. This person really likes their designer clothes, and it was special to them. It meant a lot to them to donate to somebody. But the person who received it had other needs, expectations. So, I like this. Okay, I'll arrange that in a moment. Going to do the card size. Just want to get this. Use that for something later on. Okay. Whoops. What did I do? I'm going to write the main saying for the front. I'm going to use a catchphrase the person usually says on the front. The personal letter I am going to keep to myself, and we'll do that off of camera. So it's going to be 5 by 7, so it needs to be 10. And I'm going to make an envelope. I have a template to make an envelope, and it's the same deal. I learned about this through another YouTube creator. I don't know if it's this or I can't holding the page down. It always seems to be at a slant. I need to get a needle-nosed glue bottle, empty glue bottle that I can fill, because this comes out way too fast. I've got it on my Blick Wish List, and I'm able to order again from them. So, let's see how I want to do this. Let's see, go Canada. No, I want that. What actually I'm thinking of is gluing this together, but just keeping it slid in here and not in the thing so that the person can pull it out and kind of look at it. I think I'm going to do it that way. Probably. Don't know how quickly this sets. Going to set something on here. I shall be back. Need to set something heavier. I shall be back. Okay. That glue set much faster than I expected, and I think once I get the text on here, I am going to glue all of this down because I don't want it lost in the shuffle. But I'm just going to put one little piece of glue in the back there because they'll still be able to take a peek and see what this is all about. And though I glued a little too high on this, but they get the idea. So I'll do that last. This is their catchphrase, and I've already penciled it in. These Sharpie pens, as I said in my swatching video, I probably won't get them again and I just did it again without thinking. I mean, seriously, I just did this before I hit the button, hit the record button. The cap, you can't put the cap on the end because it gets stuck. Not good. And you really have to squeeze down to get it off. And for that alone, it's such a pain. And then also, worked with these a little bit, and the nib is not the same on each pen. So, it's such a habit of putting the end on. And see, this isn't going to stay on here that easily because I keep having to squish it to get it off the other end. Anyway, I'm rambling. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of the watercolor pencil. It's aqua, I think. Just a little bit. And what I'll do is I'll sign my name on the back. The way I sign my paintings, or used to sign my paintings. And how I've signed my sketches. I'm going to let that all kind of dry up. I think I'm going to go over the I got mine over again. And then I'm going to erase the pencil marks. And that is the card. I'm going to work on the envelope. I need to set up the template for it. Look at that video one more time, set up the template for it. And then I'll come back and show you how I'm doing it. Okay, quickly, how I made the envelope. I will try and remember to put the YouTuber's information in the description. And I would suggest following her instructions because she goes into details for any size envelope. But for a 5 by 7 inch card size, you make a template. The template size is a 1/2 inch more, 5.5 by 7.5 inches. Card size is 5 by 7 inches. And then you add 3 inches to the card size for the paper size of the longest measurement. So it would be 10 by 10 because you need a square. And so you take the template and you line it up point to point in the center the best that you can. I measured it and it was like 3 5/16 of an inch on either side. Then I scored it. You can fold it over. And in the corners, there's going to be, it's best just to go ahead and cut them out. I was a little aggressive there, but cut them out so it's easy to fold. And then you can fold it. You can fold it side to side. There's going to be a point. You cut that off at where it connects to the side. And then you'll use double-sided tape or glue down here, or double-sided tape and double-sided tape. And I'm decorating the envelope. And you'll see that once I do it, it just slides right. Got to make sure it doesn't catch. That it slides right in. And I'll seal it and put it in the box. So I'm going to speed through this as far as what I've been doing. I won't be talking. I'll play some music because I don't think I'm going to bed today. The sun is coming up. But I am energized. I think this is one of the fun parts of doing the greeting card and the envelope is the envelope itself. I have to say I will never, probably never buy another card nor envelope. Doing something like this is so much fun, and I can see myself sending cards in the future in this manner. Can you imagine receiving something like this in mail? Wouldn't that be fun? Though I did make this out of cardstock because the card is going into the box. Probably if I were to do just a normal envelope, I would still probably do a heavier weight paper that would be able to take marker or decorations like this. And it sped through, but what I also did, that green that you just saw a little bit ago, that green sheet, it is going on the inside of the card to hide the marker bleed through, and also just as a lining, it just makes the envelope look so much nicer. Doing something like this, making my own design, coloring it in, kind of brings me back to being a child and just having fun with drawing and doing odd shapes and colors and just pure fun, pure fun. I know I've said this throughout the video, but I'm going to say it again. I am so happy that I have decided to become a creative person and do what I want to do. And I am loving every single solitary minute of it. And as you see, here is the final product of everything that I am sending off to the person with the pantry library. And I'm going to be doing my own bookmarks and affirmation cards for my neighborhood's little library, and then also for the affirmation cards for handing out to people. I'll take some with me to when I go to the grocery store or go get some food through the drive-thru, and just hand them out to make somebody's day brighter, hopefully, and better. And as I always say, until we meet again, have a wonderful day.